Welcome into the Landon Tengwall Show, brought to you by Welcome into the Landon Tengwall Show, brought to you by Arbor Wealth Partners. Thinking about starting a family, investing some money, anything like that, check out our friends at Arbor Wealth Partners. I am joined, as always, a little coffee talk here. We just came from the cheese shop, Chris Buchanani and myself sitting here. How you doing, brother?
As good as can be expected.
Booch,
Landon.
I feel like everybody, including you, maybe we were like on this sugar high yesterday, and you just came in and like Booch had this just like anger to him. I don't know if you didn't get a good night of sleep or
I did not. Look, that's not anyone's problem but my own. I just feel like we've gone through 2 months of speculation, and now we get to have 6 more months of speculation where everybody wants answers that, frankly, we're just not going to get in any substantive way until there's football played. And there's probably, if I'm being honest, more bad news ahead of us than good news for a little while.
Oh.
We had like a nice 24-hour, as you said, sugar high. And now I wake up this morning after a lousy night's sleep to the news that our best DMV recruiter is, inexplicably to me, I understand, I guess the guy's got to worry about his career, running back to Jimmy in Blacksburg.
Ty Howell, Penn State's tight end coach, is now going to be the offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech.
Gross.
I think that news hurts for a couple of reasons. Ty Howell he's got like 4 NFL starters right now. As much as the tight ends maybe had a down year, you still got 5 stars throughout that room. You got someone like Andrew Rappelier, who I think is probably the best one in there. And you worry about maybe losing them. But I think the biggest long-term battle you're fighting there is that, Ty Howell, he was the DMV guy. And I've seen some people send me, because if you go on 24/7, you can see like everybody's like top recruits ever. And like people are like, oh, Ty Howell doesn't have any DMV guys. I don't think that's like real. I don't take that as gospel. Like Ty Howell was heavily involved in my recruitment, and I'm not on his list. And so I think it's hard because you're losing that to Virginia Tech, someone you are going to be battling a little bit now.
Let me ask you, since you've been on the inside of this process and you just brought it up, these lists of X coach is credited with acquiring X, Y recruit. You've talked a lot about how Terry Smith was really involved in your recruitment, and a lot of the guys on the roster, he's not necessarily credited with having recruited many of those players. How real is that?
Oh, you're saying like those lists?
Yeah. So I look at it and I say, such and such a coach got this recruit to come to Penn State. Is that real?
I don't think there's any way really to know for like the 24/7 people. Like I don't know. Like part of the reason, no.
Who gets credit for you? Phil Troutwine?
Personally, for me, Tyler Bowen, actually.
Oh, okay.
Tyler Bowen.
There you go.
Yeah.
So is that true? Is it? Can you look back on your recruitment and say Tyler Bowen is the guy who got me to Penn State?
Oh, without a doubt. Tyler Bowen was the offensive line coach at Maryland my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
And I remember going to the Maryland games, and Penn State waxed them like 63-3. And I remember Tyler Bowen, he like came in to the recruits, and I'm there as a Maryland recruit, but I just went to go watch Penn State.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
they come in, we're going to get this fixed. And like 2 days later, I see on my phone, like, Tyler Bowen's now the tight end coach at Penn State. And I'm like, oh, cool. I already like Penn State. This is great. And I like told him I remember we were like texting as like, I'm like a freshman. I'm like, all right, I'm coming. It's all good. No, Tyler Bowen was the most elite recruiter I've ever been around. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know he's the offensive line coach at Ohio State right now. I don't know if you want to go from O-line coach to like tight, especially you're on a natty run here. I don't think anything short of making Tyler Bowen the offensive coordinator here at Penn State, probably hard-pressed to get him back here would be my guess. And obviously he had that stint at Virginia Tech as the OC, and it didn't go so hot. But no, I mean, going back, those recruiting lists, I mean, they're all over the place. They're whatever. Like, I'm under Trout's. I was already committed silently to Penn State before Trout even got here.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah. So
I didn't want to derail you, but I am just looking for some good news because, again, I maybe feel a little salty this morning, and I look at this Tyler Bowen headline, and I think Matt Campbell just lost his first head-to-head recruiting battle with James Franklin.
Oh, okay. All right. We got Bucci. He's a little,
is that unfair?
He's a little down in the dumps. Okay. It's fair to say, but there's no, like, Matt Campbell wasn't offering Ty Howell the offense. I don't know that for sure, but if Ty Howell had to choose, he's being the offensive coordinator at Penn State over Virginia Tech. So that leads me to believe that he probably was not getting that offer from Penn State.
Yeah, well, and as much as I would have liked to keep Ty in Happy Valley for all the reasons you just stated, development, recruiting, track record of bringing in great tight ends, I don't think I would have been agitating to make him the offensive coordinator at Penn State. That's a big job. It's a bigger job than offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech right now.
Absolutely.
And I get it. It's a improvement in the job title. I'm sure it's a pay bump of some amount. I don't know how substantial it really is going to end up being. But I get it. It's just that when I think about one of the big headaches that I think Matt Campbell is going to have, it's the familiarity that James has with the DMV recruiting footprint, which is a talent pipeline that has helped Penn State stay competitive on the national landscape, and doubling down on that with Ty Howell, a guy who knows that area and has that track record we talked about, I think only strengthens his hand against Penn State. And I feel like Matt is maybe the new girlfriend caught between like you and your ex both competing for who can put nicer pictures on Instagram and you know, of no fault through his own. And it's Petty James versus Petty Pat Kraft. And I'm not sure that we got the stronger hand in that competition.
Yeah, so I mean, I get what you're saying. I think the biggest thing, and Matt Campbell said this yesterday in his presser. He said, "Look, we're gonna dominate the 6 to 8 hour away radius around Penn State." And I think
you better.
Outside of PA, Ohio, and New Jersey, the DMV is the rest of that basically. And I'll look it up. Maybe I'll put it on Twitter later of the amount of guys. But like when I was on the team, I mean, it felt like almost half of our starters were from the DMV area.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they are. And that's important. And so right now.
Always been important for Penn State.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to Poindexter. We'll see where he goes, if he stays, if he goes. But right now, you don't really have anybody on staff that's like a DMV guy that has those connections. Because like I said, Ty Howell was really important with that. And so I've seen some people say, oh, we'll supplement, losing guys in the DMV with Midwest recruits. No, we won't, because that talent isn't even close to the same thing. Please stop. Look at some of these guys. I mean, we could go on down the list of the DMV guys that are just all in the NFL, and I don't need to get into all that. We got to win the DMV to be good at Penn State. That is a non-negotiable. So if I'm Matt Campbell, I don't know. You got to find someone. Like, you're going to have PA on lock. It was to lock up Terry. Fantastic job. And we talked about this on Obligatory. The fact that Terry Smith is now, just a bigger figure. Like, so many more people know who Terry Smith is because of what happened, where him being the interim head coach and all him crying on the presser, and just his stock is up. So when he's going to those living rooms to recruit, it's going to be very, very different. And so that's a power play there. And there's a reason why he's the highest paid guy. Pat Kraft realized, I cannot lose Terry Smith for donors and for the fact of recruits. But you got to figure out that DMV region. But Booch, let's get back to some of these unanswered questions, which I think is almost everything from Matt Campbell's presser. I feel like the only real thing we got was that Derek Hoosier is going to be the GM. Outside of that, I don't think we actually got like significant news yesterday.
Yes, which is big. It's very big because there are going to be issues with the roster right out of the gate. And over the long term, you got to have somebody competent in that role handling your roster management for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think it's just too much for one person to handle. Second of all, that's not really the competencies you want to have in a great football coach. Those are two completely different skill sets. And as we've seen in the NFL, it's very tough to be good cop and bad cop at the same time. So I think putting a firewall between the coach who's trying to develop you as a person and a football player and the money guy who's trying to work out the intricacies of your contract, maybe with your agent or your representation, is a smart idea. So I do like having the answer to that question coming out the press conference.
Well, I'll tell you too. Like, I'll just tell you. Like, I'll tell you. Like, from experience. Like, you negotiated. James was in the room when you negotiated your NIL. James was in the room. When this happens, when guys are starting to negotiate with Penn State, I don't want Matt Campbell in the room. It needs to be Derek Hoosier and whoever his number 2 is.
He's got to be able to say, "Hey, guys, the money stuff, like
that's not me. I'm here to develop you, make you a better man, coach you. But I'm not talking money. I want zero money conversations between any players and recruits and Matt Campbell. That needs to be Derek Hoosier and all his guys.
And you do want those two roles to be occupied by people who are on the same page. And the fact that Hoosier's coming with Campbell from Iowa State, I like that. Probably understands what type of player he wants to have in his locker room and what's going to be important for the type of team he wants to put on the field. But yeah, two completely separate roles. So I like that Penn State is going in that direction. And I like that we have some clarity on that. But beyond that, we know that he knows Todd Blackledge and Courtney Brown, and that he's not afraid to say Joe Paterno's name. And beyond that, we don't have any meaningful info out of that press conference.
We do not. And my biggest question that everybody wants to know, and I can't believe this was not asked. Love all our media members, but I needed this question. What's John Heacock's role going to be? The defensive coordinator that came from Iowa State, Jim Knowles, is still on staff here for as far as we know. And is this going to be them splitting DC duties? Is Heacock going to? He's older. He was even talking about retirement to some people. Is he going to come and be more of an analyst? I mean, do you think they can they work in unison? Is that something you'd be interested in? And you got two defensive coordinators. That it almost sounds like a recipe for disaster if you ask me. Like too many
I don't
cooks
know,
in the kitchen.
man. I don't know about that. I do know that in modern college football, you can have as many coaches as you want on staff. So it all depends on personalities. It all depends on the vision of the head coach. Can I imagine a situation where a guy who's close to retirement agrees to stick with a younger coach he's come up with and who he probably has a great working relationship with, to say, hey, yeah, I will come help you transition at your next job? I could imagine that, but I know nothing about the specifics here. And to your point about the question wasn't asked, I agree, maybe it should have been. And I do think they tried to probe around the edges a little bit. I thought it was pretty clear coming out of that press conference that Kraft and Campbell were dead set on giving any specifics. I think in part because they don't know. They don't know the answer to those questions yet. All of which is a function of the, just the goofy calendar we have now in college football that everyone's talked about.
Oh, the college football calendar is absolutely horrific. I watched James Franklin's intro presser yesterday. I just had to do it.
Totally different guy, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, that was the crazy part for me because I didn't watch college football till like 2016, almost really. Like I was all NFL, I was all Steelers.
Yeah.
And that was weird for me to see him. It was very different. It was very different. One of the things, I mean, how bad did you guys hate John Donovan? Oh my God. How much? Let me know in the comment section. I want to hear from you, Booch. What was that dynamic? Because I don't know anything about it.
I will say this about poor John Donovan, but that dude really got it. I mean, I think somebody reminded me there was an Onward State story about is somebody paid like some foreign influencer to like record a Fire John Donovan video back in 2015. In his defense, I will only say this. That would have been a tough job for anybody coming in because the cupboard was so bare due to the sanctions. That said, that guy was not good. He was clearly not ready for prime time. There were some Vanderbilt folks who had hit their ceiling at 2013 Vanderbilt, and they came along for the ride, in part because James is loyal, as we know, in part because Penn State was not interested in shelling out a lot of money for coaching salaries at that time. So there were some financial efficiencies just bringing his staff with him from Vanderbilt. But yeah, we got to make a better hire than a John Donovan type.
Well, we're talking OCs. I feel like we're going to go home run higher. I think we're going to try to swing for the fences on offensive.
I think that's the place. Yeah, that's the place to flex that new coaching salary pool.
I think so because right now you got Taylor Mauser, who was the offensive coordinator at Iowa State for the past 2 years. And this is a guy that came from Toledo. He was a GA at Toledo and followed Matt Campbell, worked his way all the way up, tight ends coach, all that, and then he becomes the OC in 2024. And their offense kind of sputtered this past year. It really wasn't that good. It was Rocco Beck's worst year of his career. And so I look at that. I'm like, it seems like Taylor Mauser's someone that clearly Matt Campbell likes to keep around. But I don't think that's not the offensive coordinator hire that you make. I don't think you go back. I don't think you offer that to Tyler Bowen. It hasn't done enough, and you need to hit a home run. Here's what I'm looking at, Booch. James Franklin's doing all the reunions. Let's do a reunion ourselves. Let's bring the only really great, we'll say Ricky Ronnie had some decent offenses, but the only great offensive coordinator that's been here in James Franklin's tenure, Joe Morehead.
I mean, obviously I'd be with that, but I do wonder whether or not that's just because of brand recognition. You know how like after every presidential election, they immediately, this is stupid, but it always happens. They say, what candidate do you hope will run for president in 4 years? And the top name is always the person who just lost, because it's just the one person everybody knows the name of. And I feel like maybe that's happening with Joe Morehead. Now, Joe had a lot of success when he went out to Oregon. They won a Pac-12 title during the fake COVID season. And he had a lot of success at Penn State. So this is no shade on Joe Morehead. I'd be very happy to get him back, but I do wonder, are we just gravitating towards the comfort of familiarity?
I understand what you're saying. I just feel like, because it's realistic. He made more money. He made almost double what he made as the Oregon offensive coordinator that he makes as the head coach at Akron.
And let's not minimize what winning 5 games at Akron represents.
That's impressive.
That is a nice turnaround job from a place that was less than dead. Well, even in the MAC.
Let me say this: Joe Morehead comes here, and he does a great job at Akron, so he gets that on his resume. It's impossible to win there, and you come back and you just come out guns blazing. You're the offensive coordinator at Penn State. You get a year or two, and you're back at the top of the market like he was when he left the first time. I'm just saying, if he's looking at that could be a full-on career revival for Joe Morehead.
Right back to Mississippi State. Is that what you're saying?
Then he goes back to Mississippi. He recruited me there, actually. I went and visit him by the Mississippi State. Like, they're still in, like it feels like when you drive around their campus, it's like the 1950s. It almost feels like every building looks really old and run down. I don't know who would go there. Sorry. Side note, I thought it was weird when I went. I loved him, though. He recruited me when he was there and recruited me when he went to Oregon, too. He's a good guy. I have a really good relationship with him, and I don't know. I think that's someone I look at, but I don't know. I don't know if Matt Campbell would even want to kind of pick up some old scraps, even though he's a high-level offensive coordinator.
The advantage of bringing in a guy like Morehead, beyond just his reputation in the profession, is the familiarity with Pennsylvania. He's a Western Pennsylvania guy, and we're talking about how can you replace what is going to be stolen out from under your nose by James Franklin, and how can you compete with his familiarity with your recruiting footprint? Joe recruited very well regionally and nationally for Penn State. I mean, had us right in the mix for Justin Fields, by the way. I think that was a big reason why Justin Fields looked at Penn State early on, was Joe Morehead. And I don't know that we were ever going to get him, but it definitely didn't help when Joe left to take that Mississippi State job. And so that's definitely part of it, for sure. You also know he's somebody who can succeed and is comfortable here, and I think liked it here. I think Joe would probably be happy to come back. We talk about his offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech, a better job than at Penn State. There's no question offensive coordinator at Penn State is still a better job than head coach at Akron. Would pay a lot more.
Triple almost, probably. And then one other guy you're looking at, Iowa State's offensive coordinator from 2023, the guy that Taylor Mauser replaced, is Nate Scheelhaase. And he's been with the LA Rams,
who I still remember as a University of Illinois quarterback.
Oh wow!
Yes,
before my time.
Going way back. But so he worked with Matt Campbell, was his OC in Ames, and now that's an intriguing name because there's the pre-existing relationship, the familiarity with the Big Ten from having played at Illinois, and NFL credentials. It is just such a great differentiator on the recruiting trail and the perspective that you bring into the building. I know that everyone I have talked to who was around Penn State when Kenny Jackson came in to be the receivers coach was that bringing NFL credibility and NFL mentality into the building immediately raised the game for everybody. And if you were going to talk about who is still at the very top of the game in terms of offense in the league, it's Sean McVay. So I like that. I'm very intrigued about that.
Yeah, and Sean McVay, he calls plays. So like if he's though, like, so you got Nate Scheelhaase as as the OC in name, but he's not really calling plays. So I would wonder if I'm that and I'm not really getting to call plays, I don't get to have an offense. If I get the offer to be the offensive coordinator at Penn State. And it's like, and this is a move where, like, I feel like, and obviously you're the offensive coordinator at the LA Rams, like you're up there as far as, but I feel like you get more recognition almost if you were the offensive coordinator at Penn State and you take them back to having a high-powered offense for the first time since 2017. I think that could be a big move for him. So I'm sure, without a doubt, those are calls that Matt Campbell's making, trying to secure
look at and now I understand there's some baggage there too, but look at the difficulty that a guy like Eric Bieniemy had getting head coaching offers because the perception was that Andy Reid was calling the offense. I don't know, like Joe Brady, who was talked about as a potential candidate for Penn State's head coaching job. One of the reasons why I thought he wasn't too realistic is that he's on a short list for NFL head coaching jobs. And that's because he's viewed as the architect of Buffalo's offense. No one is looking at Sean McVay's offensive coordinator that way. So if you do want to establish that you've got play calling chops, you're probably going to have to leave LA.
That's a really good point there. So, hey, we'll keep you up to date. That's why you subscribe. No paywall, just Tengwall, baby. Defensive coordinator, I guess one thing I'm curious about too is like, how do you start recruiting if you are, and I'm sure they already know this, and this is another thing I'd like to know, like what type of scheme are we going to run? I talked about this. I don't think we've run a 3-3-5. I've already seen people up in arms about it. We did a film breakdown on the For the Blog YouTube channel of it. It just doesn't fit Penn State at all. We have these great edge rushers going back for a while now, and a 3-3-5 that doesn't really exist. Yes, Iowa State had Will McDonald. That was a one-off, and he was getting absolutely abused in the run game because he shouldn't have been playing the technique that he was playing in a 3-down lineman set.
I don't get offense fits the personnel. That may not be a problem because none of those guys might be on the roster. Who knows? But we've not had great success recruiting big interior linemen forever.
That's a change. Can we please? I don't know. And part of it was like we're seeing that now because a lot of these are like not Manny. They're kind of Manny Diaz recruits in the sense of like Manny liked the smaller, quicker Aaron Donald-esque type guys.
Yeah.
So those are the guys we have now because we were recruiting for Manny for 2022 and 23, and those are the guys that are playing now.
Yeah.
But I think that's an interesting point. Like,
even going back pre-Manny, we struggled.
Yeah. Why? I don't understand that. I don't know if that might have been. I mean, clearly it was partially a Franklin thing.
It was a preference.
Can we get a 320? Can we get a 325 D tackle, please? You don't need two. You don't need both of them to be that. But one of them, if it was PJ Mustipher and Zane Durant, that would have been beautiful. We haven't had a defensive lineman outside of PJ Mustipher. I mean, it's been a while since we've had like just run stuffing. I'm going to take on the double team and I'm not moving at all. We need to get back to having more of those guys that are 6'4", 6'5", and you're just plugging. I don't love Zane Durant, everything he can do, but there's a reason sometimes guys were just getting moved off of the ball because they're 295 and they're 6'2", and it's like, all right, you're not able to really hunker down. So
they don't grow on trees. Tengwall is part of the problem. And so it's not just that we don't have the personnel. I agree that it doesn't fit even the conference especially well. So yeah, you would think we're probably going to see some shifts in defensive philosophy. And when you talk about difficulty recruiting, I think about recruiting the guys who are on the roster right now. How difficult is it when you are sitting with these guys, many of whom I think probably already have it in their minds that they're going to leave? So you're not starting from a neutral position. You're starting at a hole and trying to climb your way out and convince them to stay. And also, by the way, make the determination whether or not you actually want them to stay and how hard you're going to work to keep them. Probably Terry is critical in those conversations, but it's got to be tough to do that when you can't answer specifically what kind of scheme are you going to play in and who is your position coach going to be.
Yeah, we got to get those answers pretty quick. I mean...
And in all likelihood, for a lot of these guys, the person is headed to go coach with the guy who recruited you as your head coach.
Yeah, I think that's the tough part. Especially with younger guys.
We got to get on the stick with this stuff, Tengwall. I was just about to say something else.
Hey, we can't get demonetized. I expect, and we talked about this, I expect younger guys to be more likely to follow Franklin. And this goes for any coach. When you first get there, you love the guy that recruited you. And that's just kind of how it was. And you follow the guy that recruited you.
Yep.
And then as you get to year 3 and year 4, you start to see all of the, not bad parts of them, but the parts you're like, this guy's pissing me off. He does this, that. It's like when you've been in a relation for longer. You're in the honeymoon phase when you first get there. So I think I suspect a lot of these younger guys would be more likely to follow James, even though he was hesitant to play the younger guys. You still feel that recruiting, like the reason why you wanted to come to Penn State. Like, I was the first one to say James, as much as I said Tyler Bowen was the reason, like obviously I committed to James Franklin. And so I think we see some guys follow him. And yeah, I think Terry helps. But I think what's interesting is Matt Campbell, any good coach would do this, but sitting down with every single player and just talking to them. And if Matt Campbell is the guy that we all saw in that presser, which I think he truly is, I think a lot of kids are going to gravitate towards that. And because they gravitated so hard towards Terry, because it was like, I got a real ass dude running my football program. And that was the difference. And that's from everybody I've talked to. Terry Smith held people accountable. Just the way he ran the program gave a different swagger into them. They weren't playing as tight for a reason. They were playing loose. It was different. And I think if they get a similar vibe from Matt Campbell, and Terry Smith is vouching for Matt Campbell, hey, this is different. This is like how I was running it. I think guys will be more inclined to stay. And I think if you were to get someone like Kalani Sitake, some of the guys are like, what the hell? Yeah, because that's when we were getting the Tony Rojas tweets. The palm face emoji on Twitter was when Kalani Sitake was the favorite, and he's like, "What the hell? Like, why is this guy coming out here?" I think it's different with Campbell, and I think when they, as a player, I can promise you, like, guys didn't listen to that presser. No one on the team listens to the presser. Like, that's not, you don't do that. Like, I never did as a player. So they're impressed.
That's interesting.
No.
Introductory press conference. I understand you're not listening to the weekly press conference. You won't. He's about to go talk to the team after that, so you're going to hear from the guy.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors. So you're not watching that on YouTube?
Did a couple? Yes, I'm sure. No, the majority of the team did not watch that press.
Interesting.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, no, that was when him speaking to the team, that was the first time, and then he's going to have all these one-on-one conversations. And so I think it's going to be interesting. And like I said, when you are a player and you've been around for a couple of years, when you're 18 or 19, it's a lot more impressionable and you kind of fall for whatever. But the guys that are older and they're in year 3 and going into year 4, if they sense like Campbell's a real dude and he's going to help me get to where the hell I need to go, and this is going to once again be similar to Terry, I think they're so much more inclined to stay, because that's everything that I've heard and talked to a lot of people in the building, that everybody loved James as a person, but they were getting tired of a lot of the stuff he was doing, of just not listening to feedback, and then the same things, positive attitude, work ethic, compete, all that stuff. And it just kind of, it loses its flavor. So
inevitably that stuff runs its course.
Yeah. So, I just think this fresh face, young, like, people start to hear who he really is. And I know, we're alumni, and hearing that he's, his family's coal crackers, and, he's from Western PA, Eastern Ohio, and all of that. I think that starts to help. Look, we're still going to have, if you want to call it a mass exodus, I don't know what number, what number labels, gets you to the mass exodus label, but we're going to have close to that no matter what, I think, just because. But yeah, Terry staying and Matt Campbell being a real dude, I think it's going to help mitigate it a little bit.
And you know what? If that's the case, like, everybody's just going to have to mentally prepare themselves for it and just rip the Band-Aid off and see where it goes. That said, boy, all these unknowns, these known unknowns we are discussing right now, we better start getting answers very quickly, because we are talking about transfer portal window for the guys on the roster. Then maybe we got enough warm bodies to play a bowl game, and then another transfer portal window to replace all the guys who are probably going to leave. Like, let's start getting some answers. Lickety split.
He got hired yesterday, officially. I hear you, Booch. Well, here's what I'll say too. I think,
and you're getting paid a lot of money, so move your ass.
All right, I hear you. Iowa State is not playing a bowl game or anything. Like, I'm with you. Bring your guys from Iowa State. I know there's family and there's things they got to figure out and all that. Like, but let's start bringing everybody. If you're going to bring the wide receiver coach, let's go. Let's bring him. Let's move so people can start to.
Necessity is the mother of invention. So let's get it going.
There we go. So all of that, we got no answers. We got nothing.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
no paywall, no answers.
There we go. Exactly. Like everywhere else. I think we're going to be sitting here, Booch and I. It's going to be July, early August. We're going to pull up the schedule on the screen, and Booch is going to say 10-2. It's my prediction as I sit here right now. We're going to have this 6-month-long speculation, and no matter what, it's going to be positive, because that's how it goes.
You're wrong. I'm taking us to beat USC at home, 11-1. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Look at this, guys, man. We got a long offseason ahead of us. But we will be.
I thought you were going to say it's going to be July and we're going to be like, well, we're still waiting to find out who the wide receivers coach is and who's going to leave in the transfer portal. That's how it feels to me right now.
It's been long. The coaching search has wounded us. We're going to be all right, though. We're gonna start to get some answers here shortly, and we're going to figure this thing out. And we're, like I said, I think everybody's going to continue to love Campbell. And after the spring game, when everybody has a good game, we're going 12-0. Actually, I changed my mind, and we're going to the Natty. I mean, seriously, no. But as we get closer, and as everything turns positive, and we forget about all this mess, and we have all these great coaches in place where everybody before the first season, everybody's elite. Just like every transfer portal guy you get is going to be an elite player because that you're going to get him, so they're all going to be great. And we're going to be, we're going to look at our schedule. We're going to say, how can Penn State? That's what the national heads are going to start saying. I guarantee you, once we start to get to late spring and all this is pushed behind, national heads, everybody, Penn State media, this team should win 11 games with this schedule. It's coming. I'm telling you. I told you here. I'm going to clip this. It's going to go on Twitter in like 5 months when it's all happening. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Booch and I will be back again next week. If for some reason you got free time, Booch and I will be on the Goon and Ironhead show at 2 to 4 p.m. today, filling in for both of them at Quaker Steak and Lube. It's going to be a good time. We're going to talk some NFL, all that good stuff. Should be fun. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.